Good morning. My name is Tom. I come to you from the great state of Maine. Welcome to Beaver Creek Outpost. You know the routine. Grab yourself a cup of coffee. Deer hunting, right in the middle of it. But anyways, I was sitting in my tree stand yesterday. And the great thing about sitting in a tree stand, you get time to think about memories from the past. And I was thinking about Lost. And I did a video not too long ago. You see, a video came out about Lost. I've touched on that subject a couple of times now. But that video got a lot of attention. And so I figured I would maybe spend a little bit more time on Lost. What does it feel like to be lost? I'd like to sit here in front of this camera and say, I've never been lost a day in my life. Well, I don't really consider it lost. I consider it as twisted. And I say that to you too. You shouldn't consider yourself lost at this point. There's lots of times when you're in the woods that you just twist it up. You know, especially chasing rabbit dogs. I spent the better part of 25 years chasing rabbit dogs and rabbits all winter when I was a younger man. With age, I kind of had to give up that kind of hunting because it's a young man sport. But anyways, there's lots of times when you're chasing beagles that you're twisted. I think the camera's a little twisted this morning too. Maybe that just means I'll have another cup of coffee. I can't even tell if the camera's fogged up or if you're fogged up. Well, guess we'll worry about that another day, another dollar. But anyways, just had a big hawk come out and land on a tree out there. I always like that. I like the big woodpeckers and I like the big hawks that come up and land. Especially while I'm sitting in the tree stand. Well, I was thinking about Lost. And I was thinking of most of the time when I got twisted, because I never was lost means you can't find your way out of the woods. I've never had a time that I couldn't find my way out of the woods. Period. I have lots of times that I've been twisted, and what that means is you just gotta figure out where you are, what you did, and all that. So, and I got thinking that's happened 2 or 3 times when I was younger, and I figured this would be a great time to talk about what goes through your head when a bell goes off that says, hey, I don't quite know exactly where I'm at. And I would say that that's got to happen to quite a few people over the years. I don't believe that I'm the only one. I was kind of, there's an old saying, teaching a kid how to swim. You just throw them in the water and they'll learn how to swim. Well, when I was growing up, that's kind of the way hunting was. And you getting lost or you figuring it out. We were kind of thrown into the woods and said, meet me at the truck. The day that I'm really thinking about, there was no truck. I was up there by myself. I was up on top of the ridge. Maybe I wasn't. That's right. No, I wasn't. I was supposed to meet my father on the other end of the ridge. And I say that because when I got to the other end of the ridge, he said, "What took you so long?" I do remember that part. But we had a couple of inches of snow on the ground, and it was about 2 miles from where I was dropped off to where my father would be at the other end of the ridge. And it's not like it was a hunt that we hadn't done before. It was a hunt that we've done before, quite a few times actually. But that particular day, it was rainy, it was overcast, the fog and mist was right down to the top of the ridge. Everything looked different. And on top of that, we had about 2 inches of fresh snow. So, you know, and this is going to be just one case. I can go on and on and on. I've got 50 years of in the woods. There's plenty of times that twisted has been a part of my vocabulary. But I remember going down through the woods there, up on the top of the ridge, and I come across a set of foot tracks. And I said, wow. Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, wow, somebody else is hunting up here. And that's exactly how it happens. It happened to me, so it's got to happen to other people out there. I'm going down, and then plus over the years, chasing the rabbit dogs. Many times that happens, chasing rabbit dogs. But anyways, I'm going down the top of that ridge, and wow, there's someone else hunting out here with me today. And never dawned on me that it was my tracks. I was young. At that point, I was probably, 15, 16 at that time. So I was going down through that ridge and think, boy, someone else is up here. So anyways, I'm continuing on down the ridge like the game plan was, and them tracks are right there with me. And then it dawned on me, not that those were my tracks, but I remember seeing a tree that was laid down just right. I remembered that tree. Then I remembered that rock. And then I remembered that tree. And then it dawned on me that I'm following my own footprints in the snow. At that point, I realized, not lost, I was twisted. At that point, I realized that I was twisted up on the top of that ridge. And my father's not a patient man. At least he wasn't back then. So I had to untwist myself pretty fast. But the problem was, it was dark. I mean, not dark. It was overcast. You couldn't see. You couldn't see hardly 50 feet ahead of you. The fog and the mist from the snow on top of that, on top of that hill. So I really, at that point, me and a compass, we really didn't work together that well at that point in my hunting. I ended up fixing my compass problem with the Atlantic Ocean. What do I mean by that? Well, that's another story all by itself. I ended up, there comes a point in time where you gotta, well, actually, no, it wasn't the ocean. That's right, it wasn't. It was up at Greenville, Big Woods. There comes a point in time, especially chasing the rabbit dogs, that you've got to come to grips with that compass. Either it's right, either it's wrong, either you trust it or you don't trust it. And if you don't trust it, then figure another way to hunt. If you do trust it, then figure out how to work together. But that's another video. Maybe I'll do that one right after this one. So anyways, at that point, me and a compass, sometimes I carried one, sometimes I didn't. And especially in those woods. That's the woods, that's the town I was raised in. So as far as those woods, those hills, those mountains, those everything, I was born and raised there. So it wasn't like it was a, geez, if I go hunting without my compass, I'm not going to make it home. It might be a longer walk to get home, but that's beside the point. So anyways, I'm getting you all this to try to say, there comes a point in your hunt when you realize you are lost. At that point that you finally have come to grips with your thought process that you are lost. And then, not from that day. I didn't panic that day. There has been other days in the same area. What I mean by area is in the same age bracket of still not trusting a compass and trusting my own instincts. There comes a point where you do realize that you are lost, and but at that point, you have a decision to make, and you need to make it fairly fast. Because you can go from lost to really lost, and then you can go from really lost to really in trouble And then you can go from really in trouble to really, really, really in trouble if you panic. So that's what this video is kind of about. You're going to know, if you're lost, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about right here. That panic feeling is going to come across you like like hot water being thrown in your face. Because all of a sudden, you start thinking about, hey, I got no food. Hey, I got no coffee. Hey, it's going to be dark soon. There's just all kinds of things that's going to flush through you. And you realize you've lost. Now you can not panic, or you can panic. If you panic and start running, well, I know it's that way, so I'm just going to go for it. Well, what are you going for? You just realized you're lost. You just realized you don't have any idea where you are. So how are you going to pick us? I'm going to go that way. It's impossible. It is impossible to go in a straight line when you are lost. I'm going to slip another little story in here. I was ice fishing on Moosehead Lake. Moosehead Lake is the very largest lake in the state of Maine. While we was out there and we were fishing one of those years where the main lake wasn't frozen, but the cove that and coves can be big on that lake, the cove that we were fishing was frozen. Anybody knows the lake? It was Hogback Island. Around Hogback Island was plenty of ice, snowmobile, whole 9 yards, and there was a fish house out there, but the main lake wasn't frozen. It came in and it rained all day, and it turned that snow into a fog. What I did, when I knew it was going to be a fog, my mind, I'm thinking ahead. So I point the snowmobile exactly in the direction that I need to go at the end of the day. My thought process was, I will hold the handlebars on that snowmobile straight. It was only 150 yards to shore. No more than that. I will hold the handlebars on this snowmobile straight, and we will hit shore somewhere. That was my thought. Doesn't that sound like a good idea to you? Sounded like a hell of an idea to me at the time. Well, at 5 o'clock, I did that. Started the snowmobile, got all of our equipment on the snowmobile. Had a buddy with me. He's on the dog sled. I got on the snowmobile, I started it, I held it straight. Never turned them wheels, never turned them handlebars a bit. What do you think happened? We made a complete circle and came right back to the fish house that we were sitting beside. I never turned the handlebars on that snowmobile. Well, you walk the same way. That snowmobile made a complete circle. So do you when you're walking through the woods. If you don't pick out a spot as far as you can see, that tree and walk towards it, next tree, walk towards it, next tree, walk towards it. If you just rely on here and your two legs are gonna make a circle. It just happens. I don't know. Can't explain it. It just happens. But the key to this video right now, and I know we're at cutoff point, the key to this video is do not panic. And I got more I want to say on this topic. So we're going to call this video Lost Number 1. And we'll title it Panic. Somewhere in there. Because I want to move on, because there's more to this feeling that when you... there's more to this feeling of lost than what we're going to be able to cover here in this video. So, anyways, sorry, I'm going to cut this off. Told too many stories in between, I guess. But come along to the next one, and it'll be Panic Number 2. Maybe. I'll let you know. I'll let you know, I guess. So, you guys have a great week, and I will see you next week.